Today is the 4th of August. This is Transition Protocol. A lot is going on in the world, even though we report to you everything that is really going on at the present time when we come on the air. But still, the following day, new stuff happens that is profound. And we are happy to bring it to you. This is information you will not see anywhere else because it is directly sourced from people who trust us to bring the information to you unvarnished. Please hit the subscribe and like button if you support what we do, which we are happy to report is global and growing. And kindly go to our Substack channel, same name, Transition Protocol, become a paid member. We will deliver this news to you twice every week. And I have with me my dear friend and colleague Pepe Escobar, and he will break all the news as it is happening right now. Go ahead, Pepe.
Thanks, Mr. Z. Thanks, everybody. Greetings, all of you, here from my little garden in the heart of Natostan, where at least we are protected from dark clouds everywhere, literally. But yes, once again, we get intel reports every day. So today I had a little more time to digest the latest one, and it's full of fascinating tidbits, including a few key dates, and of course, what's behind a flurry of phone calls involving Iran, Pakistan, and a lot of players all across West Asia, mostly GCC. So let me start on a tangential because this is very, very important. And it's important because it concerns the direct negotiations about the strait navigation in the Strait of Hormuz between Iran and Oman, between negotiators from Tehran and from Muscat. So this is a bilateral negotiation, extremely technical. For the moment, as best as we know, and from different sources, they are coming to the possibility of installing full control by Iran of everything incoming, of course, and Oman will coordinate everyone outgoing, but subject to the supervision of the Iranians. These are the technical negotiations. And considering that the Omanis are in favor of this arrangement, the possibility that we're going to have this arrangement clinched, let's say in the next realistic, in the next few days, is very, very high. And it will be a fait accompli, as we say here in France, a fact without outside of any contestation presented to the US because these are the border nations of the Strait of Hormuz, which is not situated in international waters. The northern part is Iranian territorial waters, the southern part is Omani territorial waters. So they're finding a solution that pleases both. It will include charging management, administration, security fees, whichever way they are going to be built or referred to. And this is a negotiation that is technical and diplomatic and proceeding, which is the absolute opposite of what could be happening with the Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, if the American side would do it in a adult diplomatic way. So let's go back to the once again the famous dead cat MOU, or the cat that was in deep coma, or the cat that is not already dead. So the cat persists. This is a very persistent cat. He refuses to die even though he has been diagnosed as clinically dead over and over again for the past few weeks, he's still there, hanging on. And of course, there is a very strong possibility that the whole mechanism and the cat itself could be once again revived, assuming, of course, that maybe an intervention from Zeus himself, straight out of the real Odyssey by Homer, would instill some wisdom into the 4-year-old brain of the grifter posing as president of the United States. But that's another story, as you know very, very well. And it's intangible, inexorably complex, and nobody has a solution for it except, once again, a divine miracle. Okay, instead of divine miracle, let's go towards. I took some notes because this is absolutely fascinating because it involves a series of triangulations with very precise dates involving Iran and Pakistan. So, this Iran Pakistan alignment and non stop diplomatic conversation gets more and more refined by the day. So, what's been happening now, beginning of the week? Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Ishaq Dar, invited Araghchi, Foreign Minister of Iran, for a visit to Islamabad. Anytime Araghchi decides to go. So it's a no, it's an open invitation. So this will happen within the next few days, of course, and it's related, of course, to the possibility of reviving the dead cat. And then there's another invitation that is immensely consequential because it's for Ghalibaf, the head of parliament, and by the way, very, very important, the most important Iranian official in charge of strategic relations with China, which once again brings us to this China, Pakistan, Iran alignment for obvious reasons. Both are Belt and Road participants. Pakistan with a huge China Pakistan economic corridor, Iran with different sorts of Chinese investments in energy, building of infrastructure, building metro, you name it. So they are both New Silk Roads participants, as they were in times immemorial. At the time of during the Silk Roads, during centuries, until the Silk Roads after the era of discoveries started to go down. So the idea is for Kalibaf to be in visiting Islamabad on August 14th, which is what 12, 11 days from now. So it's literally around a little over a week, literally around the corner. The ceremonial aspect is that August 14th is Pakistan Independence Day. Usually on Pakistan Independence Day, you don't have foreign guests. It's something ceremonial and it's intra Pakistani usually. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Z. But in this
Absolutely
case,
correct.
thank you. In this case, the presence of a very important foreign dignitary and guest, why there on August 14th? Because there's another date that is looming, and that is August 16th. So Galibaf could be there for August 14th and stay for an extra 2 days. After all, he has a lot to discuss with the Pakistani leadership vis-a-vis the mediation, the Pakistani mediation between Iran and the United States, and of course the dead cat. August 16 is the the clock. In fact, the clock says that on August 16, that's the end of the 60-day period, which was the post MOU period where they, both parties, Iran and US, would have been discussing what was approved and signed by both presidents in the MOU. So, why the Pakistanis would like Galibaf to be in Islamabad on August 16, the day the clock runs out? Because obviously they are already ideas of what are we going to do with the dead cat. Is the dead cat going to be dead on arrival once again? Will the dead cat be revived? Will the dead cat be expanded? Will the dead cat become maybe the building, the beginning of a building block towards a further deal, assuming there will be some sort of indirect negotiations already between the Americans and the Iranians. So this is quite interesting because it proves to all of us that the Pakistanis, with after everything that they discussed with the Iranians, they still believe that the dead cat can be revived. And very important, this what American mainstream media has been spinning this past 24 hours, that Iran is making extra demands when it comes to the possible reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. This is absolute nonsense. Why? Because what Iran is demanding, between commas, is already in the MOU. So it's already in the writing of the dead cat. Stop the war.
Yes.
All of what they're saying is in the MOU already. And it's exactly what Mohsen Rezai, number one top military advisor to leader Moshtaba Khamenei, said yesterday. The supreme leader basically is asking the Americans to behave like adults. That's his message. This is what Mohsen Rezai told Iranian television, one of the Iranian independent channels. A long interview, a detailed interview. He said, no, basically, they have to respect the commitments that they made in the MOU, which includes end of war, lifting sanctions against that, and plus the extra sanctions, and give us back our money, which is also in the MOU. All of that is already in the MOU. So the Iranians, coming from the top, from leader Moshtaba himself, and as if we pay attention to the commentary of his top military advisor, there's nothing new about that. It's already there. And it all comes back to the key point that the Americans signed a memorandum of understanding that they never intended to, the commitments, they never intended to fulfill these commitments. So if they behave like adults and they start fulfilling the commitments, we are back to negotiations. Means the cat lives. For the moment, the cat is nearly dead because the other side is simply not respecting the commitments. But this is something that a 4-year-old can understand, but apparently not the President of the United States. Well, so we have to pay attention to this possible visit of Araghchi to Pakistan in the next few days, number one. Number two, what's going to happen on August 14th? Is Ghalibaf going to Islamabad? If he goes and he's going to be a guest of honor of Pakistan Independence Day, he'll probably stay an extra 2 days. And on August 16th, we have the 60-day clock on the MOU. And then we'll see where the dead cat goes, right? Very important. Once again, this is it's fascinating because the Pakistanis are finding a way to mix a little bit of ceremonial dating with everything that goes around with it, rituals, etc., diplomatic rituals, with the key diplomatic negotiation, which for the moment is stalled because of the Americans, of course. And the Iranians apparently they would play the game. We still don't have any confirmation from Tehran that Araghchi is going and the Ghalibaf later is going on August 14th. So we have to wait if these two trips are going to materialize. If they do, big step ahead in terms of that cat is not dead yet. So we have to wait. But the fact that this is being woven by Pakistani diplomacy, with, of course, in close connection with the Iranians, Plus, of course, very, very important, these technical negotiations between Iran and Oman on the Strait of Hormuz, which are progressing. Plus, very, very important, there was a Sunday, among this flurry of phone calls, probably the most important Sunday phone call was a three-way. And guess who was in this phone call? Araghchi, Field Marshal Asim Munir, and Prince Faisal of Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Arabian Foreign Minister. So this is a mega important phone call because it proves that the Saudis, for everything we can lay on their doors in terms of their sometimes immaturity or even stupidity in terms of diplomacy, not to mention they practically reignited their war against Yemen and now they are standing down, they are backing off. They are now involved in the diplomatic process between Iran and the US. Saudis and Pakistanis, the Saudis supporting the Pakistanis because they know there's no way out, which was part, once again, of the phone call by MBS to Trump, basically telling Trump, look, whatever you do, if you restart this war, you're going to be on your own. And we're going to pay the price for your foolishness. And we don't want to pay the price for your foolishness. So this was MBS directly telling Trump, stop with all these adventures. So the strategic alignment Iran-Pakistan is more or less solidified. Saudi Arabia, which is a very, very complicated thing, we can say that in spite of themselves, they have been forced to enter the diplomatic bandwagon because they know that if there is an American attack, they're going to pay a price that they are simply not prepared, not willing, and they simply cannot pay. And even in terms of what happened with Yemen, there is a Saudi stand down vis-a-vis Yemen. Anything that they try against Yemen, it will be responded by the Yemeni armed forces and by Ansar Allah, 2-1 at least, and they know it. So they better cool down. So can we say for sure, I would not say for sure, but can we say that the diplomatic channel involving in the background, because don't forget the superpower that is backing all of these negotiations, full tilt, China. With China in the background, Iran, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar. Is there a possibility that the dead cat will finally not be as dead as everybody thinks it is? Yes, there is. So this is probably the number one lesson of the post taco by the president of the United States when he was forced by circumstances and of course by a flurry of phone calls and diplomatic phone calls telling him don't do this because this is beyond absurd. There was no gates of hell attack against Iran this past weekend. So this is where we are now. It's very, very important that among this flurry of phone calls, there is a Munir MBS understanding, Field Marshal Asim Munir. And they're always volatile and always hedging, very dangerous, but sometimes with glimpses of realpolitik in his mind, MBS, that they are on the same side in terms of let's contain Trump's dementia and let's invest in the resuscitation of the dead cat. So I'm not trying to be extra optimistic to any of you. I'm trying to give you the realistic portrait. There is a fog. There is a fog of war. In fact, there are multi-layered walls of fog, and deep down there is this very, very tiny but still surviving. It's like a raft navigating in the middle of an ocean that is very, very wild because of the wrath of Poseidon. To come back to the current Odyssey metaphors, this is what we're seeing at the moment. And this little raft is the dead cat. It's still there. It has not submerged in the ocean yet, which is quite amazing. And even more interesting, there's no Ulysses in this dead cat raft. It's a group of people, many of them invisible. We never know who they are. And they are what? The Pakistani negotiators, the Iranian negotiators, the Omani negotiators, the Qatari negotiators. These are the people who are, trying to keep the cat alive in the middle of an ocean in revolt. So the possibility of something happening in the next, let's say, 10 to 12 days or so until the end of the 60-day clock on the MOU negotiations, which have not started. Maybe they could start again on August 16th, just as the clock says, bye, that's it, it's over. Say, no, no, it's not over yet. Let's start over again. So that makes so it is a story filled with drama. There's no question about that. The most important characters, you don't see them. And of course, the key character, unfortunately, is somebody that he doesn't even know who he is, apart being a mega grifter elevated to the post of president of the largest power in the history of the universe, which is not anymore, of course. So I try to give you a relatively light-hearted reading of some very, very hardcore and devious mechanisms going on, but to give a little to all of you a little bit of hope and a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. The raft with the dead cat on it is still in the wild ocean, and it has not submerged, at least not yet. Okay, Mr. Z, go ahead with your add
Well,
on.
extraordinary summary. I admire the way that you take very complex, really complex developments by the hour, literally by the hour, and bring them to our global audience in a manner in which it is lighthearted so that it doesn't really depress them and also informs them much more than what they otherwise would be informed by the propaganda on corporate media, and most of
Yes.
the independent media just doesn't have access. I will go on the limb. You did not go on the limb, but I will go on the limb because I'm talking to some of these people and I
Okay.
can judge their inflections. I can judge their enthusiasm. I can judge the way they present facts that are happening on the ground. So I'll go on the limb and I will say the following for our global audience in terms of information that I wish to provide in addition to what you just said. uh,
Okay.
there is an unmistakable, there's really an unmistakable, deep, deep alliance taking place right now, as we speak, between Pakistan, Iran, and this is significant, and Saudi Arabia, which had so far not really been enthusiastic about this realignment. This has
Hmm.
happened only in the last few days. And everything that I have been told leads me to believe that Araghchi will be in Pakistan within the next 2 3 days, and Galibaf will be in Islamabad on August 14th. Very important day for Pakistan, and and they will have meetings with everybody who is involved in the end game. I would like to say that this is the end game of the MOU or the dead cat before the cat is either pronounced alive or dead on the 16th. And the meetings are between Asim Munir, Shahbaz Sharif, Ishaq Dar, and Mohsin Naqvi, a very important unnamed player, and also involves contacts throughout this process with Saudis, the foreign minister. and even MBS directly with Asim Munir. And
Hmm.
also then messages by Asim Munir to Trump. So I'm going on a limb saying all these things because I have the honor, the privilege, and the trust of people who are actively organizing all of this. So there is a hope, even though very small, that the cat will be declared alive. And there is
Hmm.
a hope also that the escalations that have been going on by the malignant toddler, I would just say malignant toddler. He's a 4 year old, but also malignant. That the time has come for him to stop this. And I was told that this was actually delivered directly to him by MBS, the Crown Prince, and then seconded by Asim Munir. Very, very important for us
Which is
to
his
say that.
mediator. It's impossible. I'm sorry. It's very important, Mr. Z, because Trump trusts Munir as a mediator. So obviously he has to listen to Asim Munir. He doesn't listen to anybody, but this is one of the probably one of the very few people on the planet that he needs to listen to, because he's the only person who could possibly deliver an off ramp.
Yes, and I will go on the limb by saying and announcing to our audiences that the call was made by MBS, but soon thereafter seconded by Asim Munir, saying that yes, please listen to the Crown Prince, and the Crown Prince was saying to him, "You need to stand down. You need to stand down." And not fully confirmed yet, but I was told also by somebody in that office that veiled threat was given by MBS that if you decide to proceed, our airspace is not available to you. Second time in the last 50 years this has happened.
True,
So he
and
stood down.
this has been confirmed by several sources via their own means. Absolutely. So this phone call by MBS was something really serious.
Yes, unreported under the radar is the pressure by Asim Munir.
Hmm. Do you have? Of course, this is practically a state secret. But did the people at the table close to Simonir tell you more or less the tone of what Simonir communicated to Trump, how serious the situation is, and nobody would be behind him if he decides to
Uh,
escalate?
I'm privileged, honored, trusted by the people in the room to gather that information. I mean, for the purpose of providing it unvarnished, completely unvarnished, to the rest of the world through our channel. And yes, I was told that this was by far the most serious communication to Trump by Asim Munir, saying to Mr. Trump that the time for escalation has ended. I mean, the exact words. The time for escalation has ended. That was the way in which it was phrased. And I am
Hmm.
privileged and honored and trusted enough to have heard this from somebody who actually heard those words. So we can say confidently, yes, the maximum possible pressure was applied in a manner that it was available to Mr. Trump to accept it and to stand down.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So
The
I can
problem
also
is
say that
what happens next.
I'm
The
I was
problem is
told
what happens next
that
from the American side. Yeah.
uh, uh, I was told that I mean, this is again their interpretation of what is going on. I was told that there is very serious consideration on all among all parties. I mean, obviously, uh, Iran, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, and the Americans with whom they are in touch. That there will be a resolution not involving kinetic action,
Mm.
not involving military action.
Hmm.
So
But
it's an
this
important,
would
very important.
This would imply something unheard of, Mr. Z, that the Americans are going to give a chance to diplomacy. The whole planet, the whole planet is not expecting that to happen.
That is why it's so important that we bring it to the people who are trusting us to provide them with information that is directly from the sources, and vetted by us, and unvarnished. Yes, totally unprecedented, but it is supported by all the activities that we see. I mean, people who are on the ground, we see these activities.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the Western media doesn't take Pakistan as an important player even now, and they don't cover the all the activity which is happening right there. I mean, that is the center focal point of all of this activity, which is the Iran-Pakistan nexus, the Pakistan-China nexus, the Pakistan-Saudi Arabia nexus, increasingly with Qatar, and also now with Kuwait. So these are the players.
And very, very important, the fact that China in the background, and this is something that nobody sees, we cannot see it and will never see it. How China moves, the Chinese moves are immensely sophisticated and immensely discreet, and they are there all the time. So if we follow the thread connecting all these players, right behind them is China, of course.
Well,
And all
I can.
this. Okay, just a second. There's it has already started all over American mainstream media and even some independents. Uh, Something that we already knew for months, that the number one winner, the true winner of this war, is China. Of course it is, because this is an indirect war against China from the beginning, and in many aspects direct. When you talk about oil choke points, when you talk about the oil market per se, when you talk about West Asia, when you talk about Iran, when you talk about Iran China strategic partnership, when you talk about BRICS, SCO, New Silk Roads, etc., an attack on Iran is an attack against China. Everybody that follows the integration of Eurasia, not only these past, let's say, 1 decade or 2 decades, but of course, historically, knows that. Uh, so obviously, we already knew from the beginning that the Chinese will never allow Iran to be defeated, and the most important element, become a victim of regime change and an internal disaggregation. Never. And they would do it the Chinese way without firing a shot, which is exactly what they did. Diplomatic support, military support in many aspects, geopolitical support, very important support via Pakistan, because Pakistan and China are neighbors as much as Pakistan and Iran are also neighbors. So the Chinese strategy is marvel of how swift and how sophisticated it is. And that's it. And they are directly implicated in any possible resolution. And any possible resolution will implicate that the Americans cannot prevail against China, even in their indirect wars. Not to mention if they are foolish enough to go on a direct war in the future.
Well, I can add one other dimension to that, which we did not discuss, but we should. That Pakistan has been the conduit between China and Iran for providing discrete military assistance, particularly having to do with the integration of the very advanced Chinese electronic systems, electronic warfare systems, the Beidou systems, which Pakistan has experience with, and this has been very discreet, and it has accelerated in the last week. as recent
Yes,
as last week.
we discussed about that in our previous shows. Absolutely. This is a kind of information that very few people, if any, have. How this went through Gwadar and then overland from Gwadar to Iran. And it's an upgrading of the integration of the Beidou, the Chinese satellite system, Beidou system, with what the Iranians have. And obviously, this is part of the Chinese strategy, which is very hard to identify, and you only know about if you have inside information, which is the case of course, of our Pakistani sources.
And our channel. The purpose of our channel is to bring that to
And,
you.
and
Uh,
transition protocol, exactly. Okay, Mr. Z,
yes,
shall we wrap it up?
yes. Please go ahead and say the final words until we meet again, which hopefully will be very soon with much more updated
Tomorrow.
information. Tomorrow
Tomorrow
I
is
have surgery.
tomorrow is you, Larry, and myself.
I know, but I have surgery tomorrow, so
Okay,
unfortunately I
wait.
cannot do it
Okay, so
Thursday.
we'll find a way to do something tomorrow. Perhaps Larry and myself. No problem.
Yeah, if not, then Thursday. So please go ahead and say the final words. My final words would be if you like what we do, if you are in a position to support us, we will very gladly accept your support. It is only $5 a month. Please go to our Substack channel, same name, Transition Protocol, and become a paid member. Twice a week, we will deliver this very, very sophisticated, very distilled security updates to you in your mailbox twice a week. And kindly hit the subscribe button and the like button, and Pepe will do the final closing of this session.
Thank you. Well, okay, I'll leave you with an image, all of you who have seen the Odyssey. There is a raft in the middle of a wild ocean controlled by Poseidon. The dead cat is in it, but the dead cat refuses to die. Thanks very much. See you probably
Thank you.
tomorrow.
It is a very good way to end this, and very, very accurate way to say what is actually going on right now. Very actively going on right now.